At first, it was just a hue, a shift so small I wasn't even sure it was real. I remember standing on the balcony with my coffee, same routine, same building, same cloudless sky, and realizing the blue wasn't quite right. It was off by a fraction, like a television screen with the contrast nudged just a hair too high. Bluer than blue, not prettier. I chalked it up to tired eyes. Maybe I hadn't cleaned my glasses. Maybe it was the new meds, or not enough sleep. The brain plays tricks when it's running on empty, and I had been living on fumes for a while. Work was stressful. My apartment felt quiet, and everything I did felt like I was just mimicking some old version of myself that used to care. But the next day, the sky was different again. Paler. A sickly shade of robin's egg with an undercurrent of gray that gave me a pressure headache just from looking too long. I stared at it for 10 minutes before even realizing I hadn't taken a sip of my coffee. I asked around. "Sky looks normal to me," my neighbor said, dragging his garbage to the curb, squinting upward with the indifference of someone who had never actually looked at the sky before. My sister said I was overthinking things. "You always do this. You get fixated." She wasn't wrong. I have a history. OCD, anxiety, the whole cocktail of chronic overanalysis. But this was different. This was external. The sky was changing, and it never stopped. Each morning, I'd watch the horizon shift like a living canvas, pastels giving way to hues that had no name, green that looked like regret, purple that hummed like tinnitus, a smoggy orange that somehow felt angry, not metaphorically, not poetically, actually angry. The light hit my skin different. The clouds moved like they were afraid, but everyone kept walking their dogs, kept scrolling their feeds, kept going to work under that awful shifting dome like it was just another Tuesday. The isolation set in like rot. I started cataloging the colors. I kept a notebook, not a normal one, a cheap spiral-bound school notebook, the kind you'd use in middle school. I drew circles for each day's sky, tried to recreate the hues with pencils, sometimes blending 2 or 3 just to get close. Each entry had a note beside it, how the color made me feel, what dreams I had the night before, how many people I saw smiling that day. That last metric dropped to 0 by day 73. I took photos too, but they never matched what I saw. The camera insisted on blue, even when the sky was bleeding. I showed the images to coworkers, to baristas, to strangers on Reddit. "You're just using a weird filter," they said. "Sky looks fine to me." It wasn't just the color. Birds started flying lower. Planes stopped leaving contrails. Clouds, when they came, hung like oil on water, thick and iridescent and wrong. No one noticed. No one looked up. It was like I was watching the world through a glass wall, and the rest of humanity had chosen blindness. I stopped going outside. There was no point. The world felt thinner every day, like paper stretched too tight. The sky pressed down on me with its alien colors and unknown intentions. It wasn't changing for aesthetic reasons. It wasn't art. It was a countdown. I felt it in my chest like a second heartbeat. I'd stare out the window and feel it watching me back. No one else flinched when a green lightning bolt silently forked across a cloudless sky. No one screamed when the sun flickered like a dying bulb. One night, the moon didn't rise at all. Just absence. The stars looked bigger that night, closer and fewer. I stopped sleeping. Dreams were indistinguishable from waking life. The sky was a deep, swirling burgundy that made me feel like I was underwater. Breathing was hard that day. My hands shook. My teeth felt loose. I tried to talk to a priest. He offered me scripture, and I asked, "What if God isn't coming back?" He blinked, smiled, and said, "He never left." But I could see it in his eyes. He hadn't looked up in days. I started to hear a low-frequency hum. It wasn't in the walls. It was inside me. Like my bones were tuning forks, picking up a signal no one else could hear. I felt like a radio dial half-turned, catching fragments of a broadcast not meant for human ears. On day 121, I woke up and the sun was gone. Not behind clouds, not eclipsed, just absent. The sky was a color I couldn't register, like something between ultraviolet and guilt. The streets were lit in soft gray, like the whole world was filmed through a dying television signal. And still, no one said anything. People walked to work. Children waited for school buses. A man mowed his lawn, squinting up under a sky that shouldn't exist. I screamed until my throat bled. Nobody looked. I stopped marking the days. What's the point of counting down when you don't know what you're counting to? I stopped eating. I stopped talking. I stopped being. All I do now is sit by the window and stare at the sky. Every morning it's more abstract, less like a sky and more like a wound. Like reality is fraying, and the sky is the first layer to peel back. I think I saw something move behind it yesterday. A ripple, a flicker of something massive and slow, like a hand reaching through fabric. Maybe it's always been like this. Maybe we've all been living in a shallow copy of something real, and I'm the only one who's waking up. Or maybe I'm the one who's slipping. Today the sky is blank, not white, not gray, just blank. A smooth, thoughtless void like the inside of a turned-off mind. No clouds, no sun, no curvature of earth, no color at all, just a perfect, featureless absence, stretching infinitely in every direction. I watched a bird fly into it. It didn't come out. There was no sound, no impact. It simply ceased. I wonder if that's what's coming for all of us. Maybe the sky was never sky. Maybe it was skin, the stretched membrane of a thought, the boundary of a godless mind grown tired of dreaming. And now it's forgetting us, neuron by neuron, until the world slips like a useless memory into the abyss. Maybe we were never supposed to exist in the first place. Just a cognitive accident, a stutter in the machinery, a hiccup of light and decay mistaken for a soul. All these centuries of meaning, of prayer, of beauty, built on nothing but a glitch. And now, something beyond the sky is reaching down to correct the error. People keep living because they believe there's some inherent worth in it. But I see now that the sky is not a ceiling. It's a mirror. And what it reflects is worse than nothing. It reflects the obscene truth that we are the mistake trying to justify itself. What I feel isn't fear anymore. It's liberation. The need to be good, to be remembered, to find purpose. That's just the dying gasp of a species begging for forgiveness from a reality that doesn't care. There's no punishment waiting for us. The punishment is existence. And the sky is finally showing us mercy, not by destroying us, but by forgetting us.